I feel sorry to the fans because the fight is boring. The fight is boring. Like that's not the fans are expecting to us.
Pretty certain Terence Crawford in his brain is saying to himself, I can beat this dude. You know what I'm saying? If he actually goes through with it, he'll be 38 years of age next Sunday.
There's a guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf.
Manny Pacquiao makes fun of Floyd Mayweather for criticizing Terence Crawford, stating that he feels bad for the spectators since boxing doesn't deserve this kind of bout. Pacquiao makes the argument that it will only be an exhibition and be dull. He reminds everyone that the whole exercise is pointless because Floyd has been retired for years and hasn't engaged in serious combat in a long time.
The fight is boring. Like that's not the fans are expecting to us. I mean, as a fighter, if I'm a fan, of course I want to see a good fight, like changing fight, not a fashion show.
When it comes to his criticism of Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao has not held back. He said that because the retiring champion's interests are almost exclusively centered on making money, he feels sorry for him. Manny claims that Mayweather's comeback to the ring is motivated more by profiting from exhibition spectacles than by legacy or sport. He said that greed, not athletic rivalry, was the only driving force behind the potential confrontation with Terence Crawford. According to Manny, this shows a shallow view of boxing since it eliminates the spirit of competition and turns the sport into a commercial event in which combatants enter the ring like models rather than warriors.
Now, in the beginning of this conversation, you say, I don't like boastful people. How was it like fighting Mayweather then? Did he get on your nerves? Because I feel like he's a little bit more boastful than the people you might be wanting to hang out with.
Yeah, he's boastful. I think his God is the material things, money, everything like that. I'm pity with him because I want to share the word of God in him if he believe God.
Yeah, I've heard he's a generous man. I think he's done good things. I think, he kind of reminds me of like a lot of people are like this, by the way, including myself. I'm not just saying him. I'm including myself. The man who goes up to Jesus and says, what should I do to get into heaven? He says, sell all your belongings. And he walked away crying because he couldn't sell his belongings.
Exactly.
The boxing world was rocked by the news that Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson would face off in 2026. Analysts immediately noted that this bout is an entertainment extravaganza intended to generate income rather than two combatants at the height of their abilities. Mayweather is using the fight as a warm-up before he might take on Terence Crawford that same year. Both events, according to observers, are set up for financial gain, with enormous pay-per-view figures anticipated. Despite its lack of sports value, the fight is sure to garner international media attention because Tyson still has legendary status and Floyd still has a strong global brand.
Broadcast for Jake and Tyson and some people like the likes of Carl Froch viewed that as an endorsement. Like, look, man, I'm just working. It's a big opportunity to be on Netflix. I didn't put the fight together. I'm not paying these guys. So, let's chill out. But all right, I'm not going to poo-poo this. I just don't know what CSI is. And the way it was presented made me think that there was like a secondary press release to come, that they'll be involved in like some sort of like virtual boxing thing. Like, it just didn't seem real. You know why it didn't seem real? I'll tell you why. There's no date attached to it. There's no venue attached to it. Forget rules. Exhibition, not exhibition, weight. I mean, here's a guy who fought a heavyweight fighting a... Forget all that. These things can get figured out, the fine details. The fact that it was announced... Why announce something with no date or location attached to it? What's the point? Unless you're just trying to get people excited and trying to get them... trying to get some investors or something like that.
But maybe also testing the waters. If the response was overwhelmingly positive, maybe you go, okay, we move forward. If the response is muted or negative, maybe you go, okay, we're not going to actually do this. You lob it out there as a way to poll the public, and then make an adjustment.
You don't think it happens?
I do not think it happens. I just don't think there will be enough interest. I know they have huge name value. There's zero, after the last performance by Mike Tyson against Jake Paul, I don't think there's going to be interest in seeing Mike Tyson do that again.
Manny Pacquiao has always been admired by Terence Crawford. He underlined that Manny's career is unique in boxing history when discussing him. The legendary Filipino fighter won titles in a variety of weight classes, frequently defeating more formidable opponents in the face of overwhelming odds. Crawford said that because Manny rose to fame at a special time by taking on obstacles no other boxer would dare try, his accomplishment was not only historic but also almost difficult for anybody to duplicate.
Man, a generational, talented fighter. Like, he's accomplished what no other fighter is ever going to accomplish.
The notion of Terence Crawford and David Benvitz facing up has gained popularity among fans. One of the most dangerous fighters in the sport right now is thought to be Benz. With his size, youth, and aggression on his side, supporters think that Crawford would be put to the test in a way that no other opponent has yet to do. Despite this enthusiasm, there has been no formal confirmation, thus the discussion remains speculative. The conversation emphasizes how eager boxing fans are for high-stakes, meaningful bouts that transcend exhibitions and celebrity-driven spectacles.
The world, not me, but shocked the world. This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, but he took on and defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majimov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford, and that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch army. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big guy, right?
Any meaningful discussion over Terence Crawford's place in boxing history was put to rest with his decisive victory over Canelo Alvarez, which marked a turning point in his career. Many fans already held Crawford in high regard prior to this match because of his decisive victory over Errol Spence, in which he demonstrated total control and silenced detractors who had questioned the intensity of his opposition. But there was considerably more significance in overcoming Canelo. Canelo had long been considered one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, a multi-division champion, and frequently engaged in combat with larger and more formidable foes. In addition to meeting that task, Crawford destroyed Canelo in a way that few believed was feasible. He demonstrated that his skill set is not restricted to a single weight class or opponent type by doing this. Rather, he demonstrated the highest levels of flexibility, technical mastery, and mental tenacity. Nowadays, practically everyone agrees that Crawford is one of the few boxers who has actually overcome every obstacle in his path.
Because you got to remember, Canelo is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, you know, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Damn. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, But who gonna make him really want to get up? That's the
Shit gotta make sense. Like you said, you be the shark and then you be the wolf.
Yeah.
But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, that's to me it don't make sense. But that's what
monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend. But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Get a line of suits, get your money, man. Go away and get the easy money, man. You ain't gotta sweat no more.
What's up?
Not saying you ain't gotta work, you ain't gotta sweat. He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then is fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen. He gonna feel like his coach taking it too serious and he's like, man, this ain't even that. But your coach like, listen, you can get fucked up. I'm telling you. You don't want to listen. Then you go in there and fight that guy. Then you get
Crawford is at a turning point as a result of his exploits. Supporters demand that he take on new tasks, such as competing against Benz, Gerald Charlo, or other well-known players. However, there's also a chance that Crawford decides to quit rather than take any more chances. He has little more to prove at 37, so he could go while still in the lead. Fans become tense because they worry that, at a time when boxing is in dire need of major bouts, the sport may lose one of its few living greats.
I think there was enough action, and I think Crawford displayed his skill enough, even to someone with not the most trained eye, that they know they saw a very high-level athlete perform something at a very high level last night. I think he gained the sports world's attention last night and respect. He already did after Spence, but it went to another level in this fight.
And I think even the fight itself, like just from a median level, but then the moments where they were having these exchanges, like kind of late in the fight, then people were like, all right, it was good. Then like, okay, I saw somebody like they're squabbing, like they're this is a fight here. So I think it did.
And Crawford closed the show.
Yeah.
In 10, 11, 12, he stood in there and landed some hard shots and rocked Canelo at the bell. He didn't. James was talking about the great Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would go up on you 8-0 and then coast, and you might as well turn the fight off at midway through the ninth. Like, you know, he's not gonna. But Crawford didn't do that. But he wasn't up 8-0, to be fair to Floyd. But Floyd was when he fought Canelo, so he could do that. But instead steps on the gas. Bud is a finisher. You know, he closes really strong. He closes really strong in every exchange. That's one of his gifts. He's the best counterpuncher of his era, one of the greatest counterpunchers that lived. But the great fighters, James would tell us about this. James and Mike McCallum put on fights that exemplify what I'm talking about: initiating and punctuating, being first, being last. That's one of the things that makes Crawford who he is. So no, I think it was a good enough fight that it certainly didn't hurt boxing.
Yeah, I think Sport of Boxing delivered last night. I mean, Crawford didn't deliver. Manny, he did.
The boxing world was rocked by the news that Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson would face off in 2026. Analysts immediately noted that this bout is an entertainment extravaganza intended to generate income rather than two combatants at the height of their abilities. Mayweather is using the fight as a warm-up before he might take on Terence Crawford that same year. Both events, according to observers, are set up for financial gain, with enormous pay-per-view figures anticipated. Despite its lack of sports value, the fight is sure to garner international media attention because Tyson still has legendary status and Floyd still has a strong global brand.
Matchup between Prime Mayweather and Prime Crawford, I've tended to lean slightly towards Mayweather. But after that performance there against Canelo, not just the fact he won, the manner in which he won, I've changed my mind. I would now lean towards Prime Crawford over Mayweather. And the reason I say this is because of the expert way in which Terence Crawford mixed offensive in the pocket boxing with defensive on the move boxing. Not running, save for maybe a round or two. No, just moving nicely. Because if there's one area of Floyd Mayweather's game that was underdeveloped, it's his front foot game. Whenever Mayweather was forced to walk an opponent down, what he did was actually very basic. He would hold his hands up and he would walk forward throwing straight right hands. Okay, they were accurate straight right hands. They were well-timed straight right hands. But there wasn't a whole heap of head movement. There wasn't a whole heap of creative or dynamic footwork, coming forward, walking somebody down. No, it was very, very basic stuff. And I don't think an approach that basic would have worked against, let's say, a Tommy Hearns, who was 6'1", 6'2", 78-inch reach, massive puncher, good hand speed. So I always thought that a prime Tommy Hearns would beat prime Mayweather, because I can't see Mayweather doing what Ray Leonard did, grabbing the bull by the horns and taking it to Tommy Hearns. Can't see him doing that, and if he did try and do it, he's gonna get clipped. Tommy Hearns hit so hard, that guard from Mayweather wouldn't be enough, in my opinion. And I never saw Mayweather on the front foot moving his head a lot. When he's in the middle of the ring or on the back foot, when he's being defensive, yeah, that's when he moves his head. The famous Philly shell defense, the shoulder roll and all that. But coming forward, no, it's a lot more basic. Go watch Mayweather's old fights, you'll see what I'm talking about. Whenever he's forced to come forward, it's basic stuff. And so, after watching Crawford's performance against Canelo, I got to thinking, you know what? Maybe Crawford employs similar tactics if he fights a prime.
When it comes to his criticism of Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao has not held back. He said that because the retiring champion's interests are almost exclusively centered on making money, he feels sorry for him. Manny claims that Mayweather's comeback to the ring is motivated more by profiting from exhibition spectacles than by legacy or sport. He said that greed, not athletic rivalry, was the only driving force behind the potential confrontation with Terence Crawford. According to Manny, this shows a shallow view of boxing since it eliminates the spirit of competition and turns the sport into a commercial event in which combatants enter the ring like models rather than warriors.
Turkey Sheik said, deliver the job to Terence Crawford. The fight is big, showbiz.
Saturday, deliver the job.
Y'all missed the most important part. It's when he said, don't retire.
No retirement.
This is what you guys are missing. Turkey Sheik was trying to say, return the favor.
You must retire, yeah.
Bud interrupted him by saying the job ain't done, which prompted Turkey Sheik to say, yeah, deliver the job. But that's not what he was on. He was on the first part, return the favor. But Turkey, in a second thought, he goes back to Bud and he says, and don't retire.
No retirement.
That's what Turkey meant when he was trying to say, return the favor. I did this for you, you got this big fight, but don't retire. Return the favor.
Crawford is at a turning point as a result of his exploits. Supporters demand that he take on new tasks, such as competing against Benz, Gerald Charlo, or other well-known players. However, there's also a chance that Crawford decides to quit rather than take any more chances. He has little more to prove at 37, so he could go while still in the lead. Fans become tense because they worry that, at a time when boxing is in dire need of major bouts, the sport may lose one of its few living greats.
But we also knew that about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. We knew, right, deep down, that Conor McGregor was not going to knock out Floyd Mayweather. But because of what we had seen him do inside of the octagon, we had seen him do to all those great fighters in MMA, when he walked into that ring, people thought he had a chance. He didn't really have a chance. Conor never had a chance against Floyd Mayweather. And it would feel that way with Taporia. But you could at least sell that there's a chance because of how good he is in boxing and how he knocks people out inside the UFC. Initially, I thought Bud Crawford would just no-sell Ilia Topuria, right? When you're the king and everybody's calling your name, you can literally just ignore them and nobody will say anything about it. But Bud Crawford isn't one to ignore them.
That concludes the video for today. Keep an eye out. Till the next time.